Tonight on CFTK-TV, after a 3-day search in Burns Lake, a 6-year-old girl has been found. A lot of eyes are on the Canadian dental plan, and a White Lives Matter sign has been planted.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, I'm Damian Smith, and thank you for joining us here on CFTK-TV. Our first story of the day is about a once lost 6-year-old girl in Burns Lake, with much of the BC community coming together over the weekend in hopes of finding her.
Well, it was an announcement that had all of BC worried over the weekend. As announced on Friday, 6-year-old Oakland Schwetter was reported missing near Burns Lake in South Bank. Now, Schwetter is also nonverbal, so there was even more worry for her whereabouts.
There were significant resources deployed in order to kind of coordinate the efforts. We had RCMP from across the province, search and rescue teams from across the province, BC Wildfire, Canadian Rangers, Skin Band was assisting, Chinook Emergency Response, and numerous volunteers from all the surrounding areas all came out to work together to bring this little girl home safely.
Helicopters, aircraft systems, police service dogs, as well as many volunteers in the Burns Lake community and beyond took the weekend to find Oakland. After a nearly 72-hour search, all eyes were on Burns Lake over the weekend to see if they could find her, with every hour passing by creating more worry. But just after 6 p.m. yesterday, Oakland was found safe in a forested area not too far from her residence.
So last night, a search and rescue team was out. They were conducting grid searches in an area that had previously been searched. However, they were starting to kind of go over areas that had already been searched again, and they located the little girl, who actually walked up to one of the searchers, wrapped her arms around them, and just didn't let go. So it was quite an amazing, I'm sure, extremely emotional experience for everyone involved. And I know it brings a lot of relief, obviously, to the family and the community as a whole. I don't think I've ever seen that much support in a search for a missing person as we did over the last few days.
She was then brought to the hospital last night for cautionary purposes, however, was released right after and is reported as doing well.
There is huge feelings of joy and relief that she was located last night. And again, it's all thanks to just the outpouring of support and the response from the community that we saw over the last few days. It's been just amazing to see.
Well, there's been a huge need for private nurses ever since the COVID-19 pandemic, and more information has come out about the on-call part of the position. Here's Judy Trin with CTV.
Reliance on private nursing agencies has skyrocketed, and for the most part, the spending has gone unchecked because there hasn't been hard data until now. Since the COVID pandemic, hospitals to long-term care centers have been relying more on private agencies to deal with the nursing shortfall. In 2020, public healthcare facilities were spending about $250 million annually on private nurses. That grew during the pandemic and kept ballooning to an estimated $1.5 billion this year, a 600% increase, making the quick staffing fix unsustainable.
Every morning, every shift, there's a nurse manager somewhere that has to fill a shift, and there's no one to call. So it's a lot easier for them to call the 1-800 number and get an agency nurse to come, regardless of the price, regardless of their experience, or if they know the facility. According to Statistics Canada, on any given day, there are more than 43,000 nursing jobs that need to be filled. The study's author, a former nurse turned professor, says money needs to be put into recruiting nurses and improving their working conditions.
Imagine what we would be doing with $1.5 billion. You know, what strategies could have been put in place for retention of nurses? What quality of care could have been provided?
The average wage for a nurse in Canada is about $65 an hour. Private agency fees are about the same in Manitoba, but in Ontario, agencies can charge $195 an hour, and in Newfoundland Labrador, a whopping $312 an hour. There are more than 470 private nursing agencies in Canada. The exorbitant fees surprise companies that are trying to act responsibly.
That greed is not within the overall mission of trying to provide the best care for everybody.
Advocates are calling for the gradual phase-out of these private nursing agencies, but until that happens, they want limits put on what they can charge.
Well, the newly appointed Quebec Lieutenant Jean-Yves Duclos is warning the NDP that the dental program that they helped put in place may be in jeopardy if they pull their support from the governing Liberals. Here's Christina Tenalia with CTV.
Dental.
The minister dangled dental care, suggesting remaining eligible Canadians could lose out. Adults between the ages of 18 to 64 have been waiting until the new year to apply.
If the NDP doesn't work with us, these 4 million adults will not become eligible to dental care.
The minister maintains it's not a threat.
It just shows that everything is on tenterhooks right now. I mean, we're heading into a very uncertain period.
Canadians are fighting a battle.
Earlier this month, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh ended his party's pact with the Liberals.
They've ripped up the supply and confidence agreement.
It was a plan inked between the two parties in 2022 to keep the government propped up in exchange for progress on priority programs like dental care. The program is currently open only to eligible seniors, adults with a valid disability tax credit certificate, and children under the age of 18. It covers services including cleanings, fillings, and dentures.
Those with a family income under $90,000.
A week after Singh nixed his pact with the Liberals, the Canadian government released ads, noting that close to 650,000 Canadians have already received care. While the continuation of the plan appears safe for now, the events of the last week have raised new questions over the plan's future.
That's why we need to put forward a motion.
The Conservatives announced a non-confidence vote against Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The NDP and Bloc confirm they'll vote against it. The NDP's House leader was asked whether his party will continue to prop up the Liberal government to maintain programs like dental care.
We're proceeding vote by vote.
If there is an election, then that would put every social program, including dental care, in jeopardy.
Despite the NDP and Bloc's commitment to keep the Liberals in power, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre plans to proceed with a motion of non-confidence on Tuesday, with a vote scheduled for Wednesday.
Coming up next, what should Canadians have for vaccines expectations this upcoming flu season? Welcome back. Well, Environment Canada has put out a rainfall warning for both the northwest as well as the coastal regions of the province of BC. The warning covers the area of Haida Gwaii as well as inland regions such as Kitimat, Stewart, and Terrace. And the agency also went on to say that a strong storm will bring somewhere around 50 and 100 millimeters of heavy rain that is expected to intensify throughout the day. The agency next went on to warn people about possible washouts near rivers, creeks, and culverts, as flooding could be possible in some areas that are located near water. As we approach flu season, many are urging people to get their flu shots that should be opening up sometime in mid-October. Here's Paul Hollingsworth of CTV.
Dr. Isaac Bogosh is urging Canadians to book their shots prior to winter.
The flu shot will reduce your risk of getting the flu, depending on how much of that depends on the match.
Pharmacist Jamie Flynn says the flu, pneumonia, and other diseases are usually at their worst from December until March.
Currently, there's meningitis B vaccines that are available for university students staying in dorms.
Vaccine bookings at this pharmacy will soon fill up.
Flu shots should be starting around the middle of October.
Healthcare providers are also waiting for the delivery of the new COVID-19 vaccine. It's expected to arrive within days. The latest Moderna shot is designed to target the variants circulating in Canada.
It's what's known as a CFTK-2 vaccine.
The new vaccine will replace the previous version and will arrive at a time when the exact COVID numbers are difficult to trace.
It is harder now than it was in the past to understand how much is circulating.
People over the age of 65 and those suffering from respiratory illnesses should get the new vaccine. Dr. Bogosh encourages all Canadians to consider getting the shot.
The key thing for COVID is I think we should really be doubling down our efforts to ensure people who have risk factors for severe illness, to really ensure that those individuals get their vaccines.
According to Dr. Bogosh, there is plenty of online information available so Canadians can know what shots they should take and when to take them. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Well, turning to tonight's forecast, the coast should have some periods of rain with about 5 millimeters in dimension. There should be winds from the south at 30 kilometers per hour, becoming lighter after midnight, along with a steady temperature near 12 degrees. The Terrace and Kitimat area should have heavy rain at times with about 15 to 25 millimeters with winds from the south at 40 kilometers per hour, gusting to 60 at some points. They will also have a temperature at 12 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District should have showers ending late this evening, followed by cloudy conditions, with winds coming from the southwest at 40 kilometers per hour, increasing to 60 as well, then becoming lighter overnight. There should be a low of 7 degrees there. And now on to your weekly weather forecast. On the coast, it will be a rainy week, so don't expect the sun to come out at all, really. The heaviest days of rain should be Thursday and Friday, with the high being 13 degrees tomorrow and Saturday. The low will be 7 degrees on Saturday night. In the Terrace and Kitimat vicinity, it's the same story, with rain beginning the heaviest on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. The high of 13 will be on Wednesday and Saturday, with the low being 5 degrees on Friday and Saturday night. And finally, the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District. There won't be as much rain, but do expect the clouds to still be there this week, and the rain should slow down as the weekend rolls around. There will be a high of 15 tomorrow and a low of 0 degrees on Saturday night. And now on to your Northwest Roadside Report. On Highway 16, there is water pooling east of Prince Rupert, bridge maintenance in Morristown, construction in Burns Lake, utility work in Vanderhoof, line painting near Mud River, bridge maintenance near Purdon Lake, and paving operations near McBride. Highway 37 has water pooling in between Terrace and Kitimat, roadside brushing north of Miziadin Junction, and maintenance south of Jade City. On Highway 37A, there is ditching near Stewart, and the Nishka has a mudslide near Sharp Peak, water pooling and construction work. Still to come, a White Lives Matter billboard has popped up and the maker of the sign has come forward. Hello again. Well, a White Lives Matter billboard was posted on a highway in Ontario along with some other messages targeted towards the Canadian government. Here's Scott Miller from CTV News with the rest.
In early August, Gord Lehman proudly put up this billboard on his front lawn that says, amongst other things, that white lives matter.
White lives do matter. The white man built this country, and now we're seeing it all taken away from us because Trudeau's letting everybody else come into the country to take it over and paying them to take the things over.
It's the White Lives Matter statement that has sparked controversy. The slogan, long considered a white supremacy rallying cry with connections to neo-Nazi organizations and ideology.
It was never meant to be like that. It was never meant to be racist, but you have to take it for what you feel like.
When Patrick Corvin and Matt Hoy saw the sign located along Highway 21 just north of Goderich, they were shocked. They were leading the charge to try and get it removed.
As a Legion member, I can consider it a complete insult that on Veterans Highway we have signage that intimates white supremacy, and that's wrong. That's not what our families fought for, and there's no place for this in Huron County.
It is with great concern and disappointment that we, the undersigned...
Corvin has penned a letter and petition with more than 100 supporters so far condemning the roadside billboard. He was hoping local MPs, MPPs, and mayors would publicly join the fight, but that's not yet happened.
I think it really signals a reckless disregard for the safety of some of the most vulnerable members of our community.
Lehman says the direct feedback he's received about his sign has been completely different. He says since he put the sign up about 6 or 7 weeks ago, he's had 75 people stop in, all of them agreeing with the message on his sign.
I've only gotten bad press in the paper, but I've had numerous people drop in here, shake my hand and say, I love your sign. I wish I had the courage to put one up.
As far as being a racist, Lehman says that's not who he is or what he's about.
I'm not a racist, no. It's just that the white man needs to be stood up for, because we're not being stood up for properly.
Corvin and Hoy don't buy it.
Creating handmade billboards that promote the names of identified white supremacist neo-Nazi groups is a very unusual hobby for a non-racist.
While Corvin and Hoy push for community condemnation of the sign and its ultimate removal, Lehman says it won't come down until Justin Trudeau is no longer Prime Minister.
The day he's gone, the sign comes down, but not until then.
Near Godrich, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Well, a new program known as the Community Wood Smoke Reduction Program is now being offered by the Kitimat Airshed Group Society in an attempt to make home heating costs cheaper. The program is supposed to have people trade in their older wood-burning stoves for some newer and more efficient models, and it's also being said that people can also just give their old stove to the program and get $300 instead of a new stove in return. This is the third year that the program has existed and has been touted to help out the local air quality. Well, there is a new service coming to Canada, and that is Soul Electric charging stations for vehicles. And as Rachel Krause Spreading Wings reports, there may be many more coming soon across the country.
This may look like a gas station or a corner store, but it's actually something new. A service station catering only to electric vehicles.
We are able to put a whole bank of fast charging chargers with the technology that's world class.
The company says it's the first of its kind in Canada. They're level 3 chargers, the fastest type of charging terminal.
Most of the predominant fast charging available in Canada is 50, and we've jumped it to 300.
That pumps enough energy to charge a vehicle to 85% in about 20 minutes. The cost is about $40. While the car is charging, drivers can either stay in the vehicle or check out the store.
It's a coffee bar, restaurant, amenities. People are worried about bathrooms, safety, food, drinks. We have it all wrapped up in one in a very clean and safe environment.
There are nearly 30,000 public charging stations in Canada, but many more are needed, considering the federal government's plan to phase out the sale of new gas-powered vehicles by 2035.
The public charging infrastructure and some concerns around, will that be robust enough? When I buy my electric vehicle, will I always be able to find reliable, easy public charging?
While consumers are weighing the pros and cons of electric cars, ChargeStop plans to open more service stations like this one across the country. Rachel Crow Spreading Wings, CTV News, Edmonton.
And now we take a look at the stock market. The Canadian dollar is up about 0.4 cents. The price of gold is up $4.90. Oil is down 8 cents. Natural gas is up 12 cents. And aluminum is down 54.50. In Toronto, the TSX is up 27. The Venture Index is up 3. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 61. And NASDAQ is up as well at 26. Still ahead, citizens of Lebanon are continuing to flee the country after more bombarding on the grounds from Israel. Welcome back. Well, a student attending school in Vancouver made the long trip from the U.S. by vehicle just to find out that his new home was not what he expected. Isabella Zavarisi from CTV has the rest.
5,000 kilometers. That's how long the road trip from Raleigh, North Carolina is to Vancouver. A trip the Caroli family were thrilled to do following their son's acceptance at Vancouver Film School.
Let's pack up the car and go. Had a little adventure driving across the country.
Roman Caroli was initially supposed to start in the fall, but was accepted earlier in August, leaving him scrambling to find a place to live.
When I looked online, this place had verified check marks.
The 23-year-old found a rental unit on a site called Harrington Housing, a co-living provider. When they showed up to see the unit, the family says it was not what they were promised.
First thing you noticed was the smell. Went back to his room, his designated room, and it's just, how are we going to get this smell out of this room?
It's very unsanitary, but also on top of being unsanitary, it didn't feel safe.
The 2-bedroom suite had been subdivided into 4 bedrooms, and the door to Roman's room didn't have a lock.
If I'd had a daughter, I would have been extremely uncomfortable leaving her alone in a room like that where she couldn't lock the door.
But there's more. Photos show a cardboard wall taped together next to the stove.
How does this meet fire code? This can't be right for Canada. How does this meet any kind of building code?
That's quite alarming. There are minimum requirements from combustible materials adjacent to stovetops in the Vancouver building bylaw, and that does not meet that.
We requested an interview with Harrington Housing and were told we will receive a response. The unit is located at Ocean Park Place in the West End, run by Canadian Apartment Properties REIT. CAP-REIT says all units in this building adhere to safety standards.
It has to be safe housing, and this isn't.
The City of Vancouver says as far as it's aware, CAP-REIT did not apply for a building permit. It's now launching an investigation. As for the Carolis, Roman has moved into another building and says this experience won't taint his time here. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
Now to the Middle East, where yesterday was known as the deadliest day in Lebanon since the war began last October. Here's Rita Roy with ABC.
Explosions across Lebanon today as Israel carries out extensive strikes against Hezbollah. You can see smoke billowing into the air from multiple blasts. The Israeli military warning residents to immediately evacuate homes and other buildings where they say Hezbollah weapons are located.
We advise civilians from Lebanese villages located in and next to buildings and areas used by Hezbollah for military purpose, such as those used to store weapons, to immediately move out of harm's way.
Thousands of people escaping the south and heading north to Beirut. You can see this family holding each other in the back of a car.
We are on the main highway. As you can see, people leaving southern Lebanon. There is a mass exodus. You look to your right, you look to your left, smoke. These are Israeli airstrikes.
Some schools shutting down, others asking parents to pick up their kids early. ABC's Marcus Moore in Beirut.
And I can tell you that people here have been on edge for weeks, and now we are looking at this war, this conflict intensifying.
Over the weekend, Hezbollah firing more than 150 rockets into northern Israel, many intercepted before they hit their mark. The airstrikes intensified after last week's unprecedented attacks on Hezbollah personal communications devices. President Biden saying he's worried about the rising tensions.
We're going to do everything we can to keep a wider war from breaking out, and we're still pushing hard.
Those concerns the president has will likely be a hot topic as he and other leaders from across the world gather here in New York for the United Nations General Assembly this week. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
That'll be all for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in, and good night.